Hey guys, it's Mr. Allen. I know it's been a long time since we've come together as a class, and obviously things are fundamentally different right now. Um, uh, Everyone knows by now that there is going to be no final exam in the class, and what I've decided to do is instead of really sticking tightly to the remaining curriculum, I'd like to try to make the class somewhat relevant to what's going on in the world right now. And that's going to involve talking about the coronavirus. So the thing about the coronavirus is that there's a lot of aspects about it that have to do with certainly to do with biology, but there's certainly a lot of things that relate to some of the topics that we've talked about in class so far. All right, so I'd like to try to make this relevant, and I'll go ahead and start off by saying that I am by no means an expert in this. I'm going to try to be as accurate as possible, um, but if it's not as fluid as things that are more directly related to chemistry, I'll start off by apologizing, and hopefully this will just be a good learning experience. All right. So first of all, a little bit about the coronavirus, or at least what we know so far. So if you're ever looking up a website or seeing something on the news, you might see a picture such as this. All right, and this is right here is a very detailed um, structure of a coronavirus. But one important thing to point out about this is that, to the best of my knowledge, we don't have detailed illustrations like this for the COVID-19 coronavirus. All right. Uh, Coronaviruses in general are a class of viruses, and the one that we're dealing with right now is not the first coronavirus. All right. We actually know a lot more about other coronaviruses from the past, and one of the very famous past viruses was the SARS coronavirus, which went by COVID-2. All right. So a lot of times you'll see illustrations like this right here, and it's reasonable to assume that it is very structurally similar to the coronavirus that we're dealing with today. But keep in mind that it's like this is like a picture of the cousin of what we're actually dealing with. All right. So first of all, like what I'd like to start off with is first saying why do you call these things coronavirus? All right, and it comes from their appearance. All right, if you look at an electron micrograph of a coronavirus, you'll notice that it has this appearance where it looks like it has this central part to it, but then there's this essentially this ring, almost like a crown, that seems to circle the entire virus. All right. And the thing is that the first people that looked at these electron micrographs noticed that there was a similarity between this and a layer of the sun called the corona. All right. So the corona is a layer of the sun that we don't normally see because obviously, for one thing, it's not that comfortable looking straight at the sun. But secondly, if you did look directly at it, you still couldn't see the corona, because by comparison it's very dim compared to looking at the center part of the sun. All right, so this image right here is actually during an eclipse, and when you have the center part of the sun blocked out, what you notice is that there's this what almost looks like a crown. It's a wispy, foggy looking layer around the sun, and that's called the corona. All right, and it's something that if you've ever seen a total eclipse of the sun, that's what you actually see during when the eclipse is in totality. All right. So the people that first looked at the coronavirus, they thought that this image right here bore a little resemblance to the corona of the sun, and that's where the original terminology of coronavirus came from. All right. So this leads to the question of what causes this corona-like appearance. What is this center part right here? What is this outer part that looks like the corona? And to explain that, let's take a look at this illustration of a more detailed illustration of the coronavirus. So again, this is a detailed image of the SARS coronavirus, but what it shows with coronaviruses is this gray area right here. That is the outside of the phospholipid bilayer. All right, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But the essentially, you can think of that as the outside membrane of the virus. All right, inside of that, that's where the RNA, the genetic material of the virus, is going to reside. But this gray area is that membrane. All right, so embedded within that membrane is going to be the most prominent thing are these red-looking materials, which are called the S, or what are called the spike proteins. All right, and those spike proteins are embedded down into that membrane of the outer membrane of the virus. All right, there's two other proteins that don't get nearly as much attention. Those are called the E proteins and the M proteins. All right, but by far the S protein is important because, number one, it gives the coronavirus that appearance. All right, so that corona-like appearance is actually these S proteins that are extending out from the outer membrane. All right, but the other thing that's really important about the S proteins is they are what actually act to bind the virus to their host cells during the infection process. So in the last image that we were looking at, obviously we couldn't see through the phospholipid bilayer. This image right here shows somewhat of a cutaway, and what it shows is that inside the phospholipid bilayer, you're going to have the genetic material of the virus. All right, and in the case of a coronavirus, that genetic material is going to be single-stranded RNA. All right, and that's going to be fairly important in terms of how this operates, because some viruses out there are actually use DNA, which is the type of genetic material that our cells have, but some viruses have RNA. All right, and because there's going to be some differences in how things operate based on that.